Chosen one, the time has come to no longer question what you feel pulsing through your body, your spirit, and your very breath. This is not ordinary desire. It is not base or shallow. What you carry is something sacred, intense, and alive. Your high sexual energy is not just a force of attraction, it is the flame that signals your emergence into power. You are not simply a man among men. You are an energetic anomaly, a presence that disturbs the predictable, that awakens something primal in those around you, especially women. You may not always fully understand it, but the effects are undeniable. You walk into a space and tension thickens. Your voice carries weight, not because it's louder, but because it resonates. The way you move, the way you breathe, the way you hold your gaze, it all communicates something unspeakable. This is the beginning of your fire's awakening. A fire that has slept beneath the surface, waiting for your awareness to catch up with your nature. Women feel it in their bones. They won't always know why they can't stop thinking about you, why your presence leaves an echo, why they find themselves stumbling over words they usually speak with ease. This is the heat of your unspoken language, a language they feel in their nervous systems. It is not aggression, it is not arrogance, it is pressure, controlled, quiet, and natural. But chosen one, this awakening isn't for entertainment, it's for evolution. It is not here to be thrown into the wind or scattered across empty pursuits. It's here to fuel something greater, to direct your attention inward first, so that what you offer outward is refined, rare, and real. You are being invited into full awareness of your energetic presence, not just to possess it, but to wield it with grace. This is the initiation of your fire. Not a blaze that consumes, but a sacred flame that reveals. It doesn't burn, it illuminates. And now you must learn how to walk with it, not as a weapon, but as a whisper. A silent roar that tells the world, I am here, I am awake, and I am no longer hiding my fire. Chosen one, now that your fire has begun to rise, the next step is not to release it, but to contain it. This is where your presence becomes everything. You are no longer allowed to move unconsciously through the world. Your presence, once scattered and unseen, is now concentrated. It has weight, and those who cross your path can feel it instantly, especially women who are attuned not to words but to energy. They feel when a man is there, and now you are. Mastery of presence means that you are no longer pulled from the moment. You are in it, anchored, still, aware. Your breath slows, your eyes meet hers without hesitation. Your posture no longer shrinks. There is no rush in your rhythm. There is no desperation in your movements. You are no longer trying to arrive. You are arrival. You are not searching. You are revealing. This shift in presence is not just physical. It's energetic. It changes how others relate to you. You are no longer ignored because your presence cannot be ignored. You're no longer the background of the room. You become the room, not by effort, but by how deeply rooted you are in your own awareness. You speak less, yet say more. You don't chase attention, yet it finds you. You don't entertain everyone, but everyone wants to be entertained by you. Women in particular feel this presence as a charge in the air. It creates contrast. They sense the restraint in your power, the calm in your intensity, the focus in your silence. They feel that they are in the presence of a man who knows himself. A man who doesn't need to prove. A man who holds. This holding is not possessive. It is magnetic. It is safe. It is arousing. Not because you're trying to be seductive, but because you have mastered your presence, and that mastery is rare. You are not just in the room anymore. You are felt in the room. And when you walk away, you leave a silence that others miss, a heat that doesn't fade, a gravity that doesn't let go. This is not a trick. It is not a show. It is what happens when a man stops dividing his attention and becomes fully here. Chosen one, your presence is now your power. Not what you say, not what you wear, not what you project, but how deeply you exist. And this, more than anything, is what keeps their minds circling, their bodies leaning, and their hearts wondering who exactly you are. Chosen one, now that your presence has been anchored and your inner fire is awake, you are beginning to feel the subtle but potent interaction between energies, the electric current that flows between you and the feminine. This is not imagination. It is not coincidence. It is the quiet, rhythmic dance of polarity, one of the most ancient languages ever spoken. You are not initiating it, you are simply allowing it, because your energy has matured to a point where it no longer needs to reach. It draws. Women feel this magnetic rhythm even before words are exchanged. They sense your stillness as the container. They sense your intensity as the spark. Your body, your breath, your gaze, each becomes a part of this invisible communication. You are not pushing, you are not pulling. You are simply offering something so grounded, so undeniably alive, that it invites their own energy to awaken in response. This is where sexual tension is born, not from manipulation or practiced lines, but from unspoken resonance. It's the space between your restraint and your readiness. The pause before a word, the eye contact held just a moment longer, the calm in your demeanor that says you could act, but you choose stillness. You could pursue, but you prefer alignment. You could seduce, but instead, you simply are. In this dance, nothing is rushed, everything is felt. The woman before you is not just a body or a fantasy, she is energy meeting energy, and you no longer relate to her with expectation. You relate to her with presence. You let her feel your gravity without trying to pull her in. You let her enter the rhythm at her pace, and in doing so, you make space for genuine attraction to bloom, not as a performance, but as a response to your frequency. This kind of interaction isn't loud, it's not chaotic, it's slow, it's burning. It's felt in the stomach, in the spine, in the sudden quiet between breaths. You've become the kind of man who doesn't speak of chemistry, you create it. Not by being aggressive or aloof, but by being completely in tune with the way your energy moves through space and how hers shifts in response. Chosen one, this dance is your domain now. You lead not by controlling, but by grounding. You don't seek to impress, you allow yourself to be felt. And in doing so, you awaken something ancient in the feminine. A memory of what it's like to be drawn toward a man, not by performance, but by truth. Chosen one, you now carry a fire that can be felt before you even speak. It surrounds you like a field, stirs in your glance, and moves through your stillness. It is the fire of your high sexual energy, alive, undeniable, and fully awake. But a fire left unchecked becomes destructive, and now you are being called into something deeper, control without suppression, direction without denial, mastery without the loss of heat. You are no longer a man ruled by desire. You have walked through temptation and emerged with something stronger than indulgence, sovereignty. You no longer chase the thrill of release because you've tasted something better, the power of containment. And that containment doesn't make you colder. It makes you more potent. The energy doesn't vanish, it gathers, it circulates, it strengthens you. This is where the world begins to feel the shift in your energy. You aren't leaking it. You aren't giving it away without thought. You're holding it, and that holding makes you magnetic. Women can feel the tension inside you, not as threat, but as invitation. You're not pouring your attention outward, you're channeling it inward, refining it, shaping it into clarity. You have stopped treating your sexual energy like a fire that must be extinguished and started treating it like a force that must be focused. There is incredible seduction in a man who wants but doesn't chase, who feels but doesn't lose himself, who burns but never begs. Your fire is no longer a craving, it is an offering. It says, I know what I carry and I won't waste it. And that awareness, that strength, makes every interaction with you more powerful. The tension rises not because you are withholding, but because you are choosing when, how, and with whom your energy is shared. You have become intentional. Your glances are no longer wandering, they land with purpose. Your words don't seek approval, they reveal presence. Your body doesn't just occupy space, it charges it. You could reach out and she knows it. You could pursue and she feels it. But you don't. You wait, you allow. And that patience becomes the very thing that stokes the flame higher. Chosen one, this control is not resistance, it's reverence. You revere your energy now. You hold it like sacred fire. You offer it only when it aligns with your truth, your path, your purpose. You no longer ask, can I have her? You ask, does this connection honor what I've built? That standard isn't arrogance, it's value. It's the quiet claim that says, I am not for everyone, I am for what is real. And now your flame doesn't flicker. It burns slow, it builds, and it doesn't chase, it calls. And that call, without words, without promises, has become your greatest attraction. Because it is rooted not in desire alone, but in discipline. and discipline in the body of a man who burns this brightly is irresistible. Chosen one, now that your energy moves through you like a current too powerful for ordinary expression, you've begun to realize that not all power is loud. In fact, the most intoxicating part of your presence is no longer what you say, it's what you don't. You've discovered the language of silence, and how, in your stillness, 1,000 messages are carried without a single word. This isn't emptiness. It's fullness contained. Your silence doesn't mean you have nothing to say. It means your energy is already speaking. You've entered a realm where words become secondary and your gaze becomes your voice, where your posture communicates more than paragraphs ever could, where a moment of shared quiet carries more tension, more intimacy, more presence than an entire evening of small talk. This is where your high sexual energy deepens its influence, not through action, but through restraint, not through pursuit, but through poise. The feminine is exquisitely tuned to silence, to gaps, to pauses. And when you stand in that stillness without collapsing into nervousness, without grasping to fill it with noise, she feels the depth of your presence expanding toward her. It is not a void. It is an opening, a space that invites, that draws, that holds. In that space she relaxes. Her guard begins to fall. Not because you've demanded anything, but because you've created a moment where her spirit is safe to emerge. And that safety, chosen one, is not dull, it's electric. Because the tension that lives in your silence is not born of suppression, it is born of conscious containment. You've cultivated yourself to the point where you no longer seek to unload your energy, you direct it. You let it simmer, gather, and circulate. And in your silence, that heat becomes almost unbearable, almost sacred. It's not threatening, it's undeniable. When you lock eyes with her now, you don't look away first. Not because of ego, but because you no longer fear being seen. You don't speak to impress, you let your presence speak for you. You no longer chase chemistry, you let it build. And your silence becomes the fertile ground where tension takes root and grows into something that can no longer be ignored. You are no longer a man desperate to fill the air with clever lines or constant talking. You are a man who understands space. You understand the gap between words. The slow inhale, the charged stillness. You've become fluent in this language of restraint, and that fluency is far more seductive than anything you could ever say. Because when a woman is in your silence, she begins to hear herself more clearly. And that kind of experience isn't something she walks away from easily. It stays, it echoes, it calls her back. Not because you demanded her attention, but because your presence made everything else disappear. Chosen one, by now you've become aware of your power. You've felt it in the way eyes follow you without invitation, in how easily conversations curve toward you, in the warmth you ignite simply by entering a room. But with this power comes something sacred, something few speak of in the world of empty conquest: responsibility. You've stepped into the realm of ethical seduction. The understanding that to attract is one thing, but to honor that attraction is the work of a man in full command of his soul. You are no longer playing with energy just to feed your ego. You are shaping it, holding it, and offering it with purpose. This means you no longer need to manipulate. You no longer rely on tactics. You don't seduce to take, you seduce to awaken. You create space for depth, for clarity, for mutual elevation. You are not interested in empty validation. You are interested in connection that aligns with the fire in your chest and the truth in your gut. This is where your high sexual energy transforms again, not from raw attraction into control, but from control into artistry. You move through your life with intention. You hold eye contact, not to dominate, but to open. You speak not to charm, but to invite. You touch not to claim, but to mirror the feeling already present. Your energy, once wild and scattered, now moves like music, strong, deliberate, and unforgettable. You no longer take interest in collecting hearts. You are interested in meeting souls. And because of this, you've become more rare, more desired, not for what you promise, but for how deeply you choose. Women feel this when they encounter you. They feel the difference between performance and presence, between flattery and focus, between seduction born from lack and seduction born from mastery. You make it known without saying much that you are not a man who gives himself easily. And in turn, you don't take anyone's energy lightly. You don't tease without care. You don't play with hearts for the sake of a thrill. You are dangerous only to those who want surface-level attention. But to those who seek depth, honesty, and genuine passion, you are sanctuary. This is ethical seduction, not watered down or sanitized, but fully alive, fully aware, and fully felt. You're not pretending to be a good man. You are one. And that goodness isn't weakness. It's power with direction, passion with reverence, desire with integrity. Chosen one, you are no longer a man who flirts to conquer. You are a man whose every breath offers invitation, not into chaos, but into clarity, not into confusion, but into connection. And that kind of seduction doesn't fade after the moment ends. It leaves fingerprints on the spirit. Because when you leave, what you offered wasn't just pleasure. It was presence. And presence, when given from a man who knows himself, is the most unforgettable seduction of all. Chosen one, you have moved beyond the surface. You've tasted the depth of your energy and felt how it stirs the air when you simply enter a room. But now you're arriving at a new threshold, one that cannot be taught, only remembered. This is the realm of intuition, of sensing, of knowing without logic. You are beginning to navigate the world not just with your mind or your body, but with your instinct. This is where your ability to connect becomes sacred. You've likely noticed how you no longer rely on words to know what's unfolding in a room. You can feel the shifts in attention, the pulses of interest, the subtle emotional waves moving through others, especially women. You hear what's not said. You feel the question behind the statement, the yearning behind the smile. And when your high sexual energy meets that intuitive clarity, something extraordinary happens. You are no longer guessing. You are moving with precision. This is not about manipulation. This is about listening with your whole being. It is about reading the moment so well that your response becomes seamless. It's not rehearsed. It's not calculated. It flows through you like breath. You are learning to enter interactions as though they were music, not to control the rhythm, but to feel it and join the melody at just the right moment. There is a softness that comes with this intuition, but also a sharpness. You don't waste energy pushing where the door is closed. You don't overextend when the silence is enough. You don't try to impress where presence is already doing the work. You've become the man who speaks only when it adds to the moment, who touches only when the air calls for it, who smiles not because it's expected, but because it's real. These details, this timing, is your genius now. Women respond deeply to this. They may not be able to describe it, but they know when they're being seen without effort. They know when the energy is flowing naturally and not being forced. They trust you, not because of a promise, but because of the way you respond to their energy without trying to possess it. You've become sensitive to the cues that most ignore. And because of that, your presence becomes a doorway they've longed to walk through. Intuitive connection is not magic. It is presence without agenda. And when you bring your grounded masculine clarity into that space, connection stops being something you chase. It becomes something that arrives, something that reveals itself when you are ready to feel more than you control. Chosen one, this is the gift of the man who has learned to trust himself. And in that trust, you've become someone others feel safe to trust as well. Chosen one, you now understand desire. Not as a weakness, not as something to be hidden or indulged carelessly, but as a sacred force. Desire is energy in motion. It is divine hunger seeking expression through your body, your voice, your intention. But with this understanding comes the most crucial evolution of your power, boundaries. Because the man who holds great fire must also hold a strong vessel. And that vessel is shaped by what you say no to. You've stopped trying to be liked by everyone. You've stopped reaching for validation in moments that ask for silence. You've stopped pouring your energy into people who do not value what you carry. This is not arrogance. It is alignment. It is the natural consequence of a man who has come to honor himself fully. Because when you finally understand how sacred your energy is, how deeply it affects others, you stop giving it away just to feel seen. Women feel this shift immediately. You are no longer available to be consumed without reciprocity. Your eyes still hold warmth, your voice still invites, but your energy no longer says yes to everything. It says choose wisely, not out of scarcity, but out of abundance. You're not rejecting others, you are simply refining access. And this refinement doesn't close your heart, it opens your clarity. There is an art to being both open and protected. You have learned it. You know now when desire is expansive and when it is a trap. You know when tension is sacred and when it is manipulation. You know when a connection is mutual and when it is trying to feed off your light without giving anything back. This discernment is your boundary, and this boundary is your freedom. Desire without boundaries leads to burnout. It leads to confusion. It leads to a life spent chasing what cannot satisfy. But desire with boundaries becomes something divine. It becomes focused, clean, magnetic. Your presence stops being chaotic. It becomes trustworthy, not just to others, but to you. Now, every step you take is intentional. Every conversation has a pulse. Every interaction with the feminine becomes clearer. You know when to open. You know when to hold. You know when to pursue and when to remain still. You no longer chase love. You allow it to come when it aligns. And when it doesn't, you walk away without anger because you know that what is real does not need to be forced. Chosen one, your desire is holy, but it becomes holy only when held within the vessel of strong, self-respecting boundaries. The more you honor those lines, the more attractive you become, not just in body, but in frequency. Because your energy no longer says, I want something from you. It says, I know who I am, and I choose wisely. And that, more than anything, is the energy they can't resist. Chosen one, by now, you've seen the subtle yet undeniable ripple of your energy in the lives of those around you. You've watched the way women react to your silence, your grounded gaze, the deliberate movement of your words, and the steady confidence of your presence. But what matters more than how they respond is what you are learning about yourself in those moments. You have entered the stage of reflection, not to overanalyze your power, but to refine it. Because true growth is not a race forward, it is a deeper return inward. Every interaction is a mirror now. Every spark of chemistry, every shift in energy, every fleeting glance that hangs in the air, they are no longer distractions. They are feedback. They are insight. They show you where your energy flows effortlessly, where it is blocked, where it's being wasted or withheld. You are no longer navigating blindly. You are observing with clarity. You are learning not just how to attract, but how to align. Not just how to move people, but how to move yourself into a more elevated expression of your truth. This growth is subtle, but profound. You no longer seek validation in the eyes of those who are not aligned with your depth. You've stopped measuring your worth by reactions and instead begun measuring it by your reactions. How you remain calm in the presence of chaos. How you maintain clarity when desire clouds the air. How you respect your inner truth even when temptation asks you to abandon it. You are shaping your masculine edge not by adding more, but by sharpening what is already there. Women notice, not always consciously, but deeply. They feel that you're not just magnetic, you're aware. You're not seducing without thought, you're reading the moment. You're not addicted to connection, you're discerning about energy. And when you engage, it's not from hunger, it's from wholeness. This is what makes your interactions unforgettable. Not just because of how you made them feel, but because of how you showed up. With presence, with precision, with truth. Growth doesn't always come through effort. Often it comes through awareness. And your awareness has now become your superpower. You know when the moment calls for fire, and when it calls for stillness. You know when the tension is sacred and when it's superficial. And you respond from a place that isn't ego or fear. It's embodiment. You are not just acting like a man of depth, you are him. And this reflection, this deepening, is not temporary. It's becoming your foundation. Chosen one, the man you were yesterday was enough for yesterday. But today requires something sharper, cleaner, and more deliberate. And you are rising into that version. Not because someone asked you to, but because your own energy demands it. Every woman who meets you from now on is not just meeting a man of charisma. She's meeting a man who knows exactly who he is and who is willing to grow relentlessly from that knowing. Chosen one, everything has led to this. Not to a peak moment of applause, but to a quiet recognition in your soul. You have become the man who doesn't just attract. You leave an imprint. You're not remembered because of how you looked, what you said, or even what you did. You are remembered because of what it felt like to be in your energy. Because what you carry can't be faked. It can't be borrowed. It is the culmination of everything you've awakened, contained, refined, and offered. Your high sexual energy is no longer just a pull, it is a pulse. It is a vibration that follows you into every room and lingers after you leave. Women feel it in ways they cannot name. They remember how you made them feel seen, how you held space without needing to fill it, how you didn't rush what was unfolding, how your desire wasn't aggressive but intentional, and how your presence wasn't loud but complete. You've stopped needing to be the most impressive. You've become the most felt, and that feeling lingers in the body. It sits in the mind. It lives in the heart. You are no longer an experience to be consumed. You are a presence to be remembered, not for the illusion of perfection, but for the truth of your energy. This is your legacy now. Not how many moments you collect, but how deeply you mark them. You are not trying to be a fantasy. You are choosing to be real. And realness is rare. Realness is medicine. Realness is unforgettable. You have learned how to create space for others to feel safe, challenged, desired, and respected all at once. And because of that, the energy you offer is not just attractive, it's healing. There is no end to this journey, but there is a point at which you stop trying to prove yourself and simply embody yourself. You've reached it. And from here, your magnetism becomes legacy. You attract not from effort, but from alignment. Not from performance, but from presence. Not from games, but from grounded clarity. Chosen one, your energy speaks before you do. And now it leaves echoes in the places you've touched, in the hearts you've stirred, and in the lives you've entered briefly, but changed completely. You are no longer seeking to be known. You are choosing to be remembered. Chosen one, as your high sexual energy continues to rise, refine, and root itself deep into the chambers of your being, a new phenomenon begins to emerge. It is not as loud as attraction, nor as obvious as admiration, but it is far more powerful. It is peace. Not the kind that hides from the world or masks itself in passive silence. This is a peace that radiates, a peace that cannot be faked because it lives in the deepest layers of your consciousness. And now, as you walk through the world, women feel this peace before you speak. It is in your breath, in your gaze, in the way you take up space without stealing it, in the way you rest in your body as if nothing is missing, nothing is lacking, and nothing needs to be proven. This peace is not weakness, it is mastery. It is not the absence of desire or fire. It is the evidence that your fire no longer owns you. You have reached a level of energetic maturity that can carry intense life force energy, yet remain unmoved by superficial chaos. And this is why you stand out. This is why women who have felt the rush of wild men still lean in closer when you speak with calm. You are no longer operating from lack. You are no longer trying to be chosen. You have chosen yourself so deeply that the universe now reflects that back in how others respond to you. You walk into places where others fidget, and you remain centered. You listen when others are speaking over one another. You laugh slowly, deeply, with the kind of joy that comes from knowing you are not missing out on anything. You are the experience. And this peace does not come from escaping the world. It comes from having met the world head-on, suffered its illusions, tasted its tricks, and chosen not to fight it anymore. You now live with the world, not against it. And that coexistence, that effortless balance, is what makes your energy feel eternal. You've become a man who doesn't need to be desired to feel whole. A man who can experience attention without craving it. A man who can hold sexual energy without being controlled by it. This kind of man is rare, and the feminine notices, not with her mind, but with her nervous system. Around you, she breathes differently. She relaxes. She feels safe, not because you make promises, but because you don't need anything from her to be at peace. You are already full. This kind of peace, chosen one, does not speak loudly, but it speaks constantly. It is always humming beneath your actions, softening your words, grounding your steps. It is the look in your eyes that says, I've already found what others are still searching for. And people feel that. Women feel it. Some will try to draw you out of it, not maliciously, but because they have not yet found that peace within themselves. They will poke, provoke, and test to see if your stillness is a mask or a temple. You must not react. You must remain. Let them see that your peace is not a costume you wear. It is your nature. It is your origin. It is your truth. And as you continue to move through the world like this, something begins to shift. You are no longer pulled by attention. You are pulled by purpose. You don't wake up wondering who's thinking about you. You wake up thinking about what you're here to give, to build, to embody. Your energy is no longer reactive. It is creative, and your creation is peace. You become the oasis in a desert of overstimulation, the soft thunder in a world of empty noise. Chosen one, this peace is your power. It is your shield, it is your crown, but it must be nurtured, protected, honored. It cannot coexist with petty drama, shallow validation, or environments that pull you into distraction. Not for what you took, but for what you awakened. Not for what you said, but for how deeply you were felt. Not for who you were for a moment, but for who you chose to become.